What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your host and producer this afternoon, Logan Landers, and joining me to talk about Jalex Hunt, the linebacker coming out of Houston Christian. As always, my guy, Mr. Football, Vincent Turner. How you doing, Vincent?
How you doing, the very talented Mr. Logan Landers? How you doing, my brother?
I am doing great today, Vincent. Excited to shine some light on this guy, someone who doesn't get as much love as he deserves, and that's what we're here to do, Vincent. We know the draft is obviously we talk about the big name schools, all the SEC schools, Pac-12, Big Ten, all the major conferences. But today we're going to go down to Houston Christian, talk about Jalex Hunt. Before we do, guys, if you enjoy this episode, give us a like, follow, share, and of course subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. We are going very, very heavy on the draft now with the NFL season now over. We are fully in draft mode, so be sure to turn on notifications so you don't miss a single upload. Vincent, let's get into it. Talking about Jalex Hunt, a guy, senior, 6'4", 248, coming out of Houston Christian with the Huskies in the Southland standings. So, looking at this guy, Vincent, I think that he is heavily underrated. And let's talk about him. What I like about this guy. Looking at his stats this past season in 2023, he had 41 tackles, 4 sacks, 1 INT. But in 2022, in his 2 years of work now, he has made some impressive numbers. He had 69 tackles, 3.5 sacks, and he has 5 forced fumbles in his 2 years of play at Houston Christian. This is a guy who, honestly, Vincent, he's just a dog. I mean, he is obviously he's a senior. He's on there on the line, and he is not afraid to go out there and get it. Now, when you see him play, you're going to be impressed because he is an enforcer. Because he can go with the ball skills, he can create turnovers. He flashes that ability, Vincent, that attitude that you like to see. That he, as you like to say, Vincent, he's going to lay that wood. That's what
Yes,
that's what he does. If you watch Jalex Hunt play, he's going to shoulder tackle you down to the ground. He's going to sling you down, and that's what I like to see out of especially out of defensive players. I want them to have that mean streak, to not be afraid to really just get into a guy and slam him on the ground, all in the name of football. And that's what this guy does, man. He's always on the field. He's got that good ability. He's a tall guy, as I mentioned. He's got long arms, and he has a really solid hustle. I mean, even if the ball's nowhere near him, you're going to see him trying to get over there as quick as he can. I mean, he is just a guy who he can help out on the run. He's great in the passing game as well. But I think that overall with Jalex Hunt, it's a guy who doesn't get a whole lot of love, and it's a shame. It really is, because he is someone who is heavily underrated, was named second all-team in the Southland Conference, also led them in tackles for loss, this being in 2022. He had 11.5, also forced fumbles. I mean, he's a very, very solid player, and I expect him to get some looks as we get closer to draft day, but I'm glad that we're here spotlighting him early on because this young man deserves it. What are your thoughts, Mr. Turner, on Jalex Hunt, the young man coming out of Houston Christian?
Well, out of all the players that's in the 2024 NFL draft, I probably got the most respect for this player right here. You brought up some key points in your conversation a few moments ago when you said that he was a guy that wanted respect. And he didn't play at the big name schools like a Texas or Georgia, Alabama, University of Washington. But he's a guy that comes from a small school. Now, I'm going to tell you, I like his journey.
Mm-hmm.
He was an unrated prospect coming out of the state of Florida. And he decided to go to Cornell. Now, when you look at Cornell, that's not a school for dummies.
No, not at all.
He went up there with a 4.0. Let me put that out there to the listeners out there. He went to Cornell to try to play football. He went on his academic prowess. He went up there, then he transferred to Houston Christian. I just like to talk to him or get an interview with him and just ask him what made him go to Houston Christian a school of only 3,000 people in the city of Houston, Texas, around the Houston Cougars, down the road from the Texas A&M Aggies, and 2.5 hours from the Texas Longhorns. But he went to a school that's only got 3,000 people. And Logan, don't you know he's the first player in school history to be invited to the Senior Bowl?
Hey.
So that means that you got to really be on the NFL team's radar list. During this season, 31 or 32 teams attended practices that he was involved with. They didn't go to no games now. They went to practices to watch this young man. Now, this is a very versatile guy that plays safety, but he also played a little bit linebacker. So they're saying if he gets drafted the next level, which he will, that they're going to probably move him to a linebacker position, have him slash safety linebacker. And when I think about that, I think about, you know me, Logan, I'm big on production.
Yes, sir.
In his career at Cornell and at Houston Christian, 133 tackles, 20.5 tackles for loss, 13.5 sacks, and 76 total pressures, 1 interception. And you brought up a good point. He's an enforcer in the middle of the field. Then I start thinking about all the great players that had that versatility. I'll go back to Hugh Green that played at Pittsburgh, that played defensive end in college, but moved to linebacker when he got drafted by Tampa. Then I think about Billy Ray Smith that played at Arkansas, that played D tackle, but he moved to linebacker when he got with the San Diego Chargers. Then I think about Mike Pitts, who was a defensive end at Alabama, ended up being a slash defensive end linebacker with the Atlanta Falcons. Then I think about Wilbur Marshall, who was a slash defensive end linebacker at the University of Florida. Now, I'm just looking at those players from playing the line from a rush standpoint. But then I go back and I look at his skill set in the secondary, and you brought up one good point. He will lay the wood to you. And watching his game film and him playing down at Houston Christian, I gotta be really honest about something. He's an intimidating force in the mold of Sean Taylor, the late great Sean Taylor. He's in the similarity of the great Jack Tatum, the assassin. Then he got a little bit of Pig Sewell, University of Arkansas, Steve Atwater. Then he got a little bit of that young man out of Chesapeake, Virginia, by way of UCLA, the Seattle Seahawks, Kenny Easley. Then he got a little bit of that Perry View out of Lufkin, Texas. This for you, Mark Denham, Mr. Mark, a.k.a. Bass, Kenny Houston. So this gentleman has got a lot of versatility, skill set, very productive at the small school level. The only thing that the scouts and people are going to knock about, well, he didn't play in a big-time school. But I will go and tell those people, you know what? I'm going to ask you again, Mr. Logan Landers, the baby face of 100 yards football. Do you have to be a dummy to go to Cornell?
No, you got to be smart. You said 4.0. You got to have a big brain.
This gentleman went to Cornell. Then he decided to go to Houston Christian. So that's telling me not only he's physical as a football player, but this guy might have a skill set of a doctor, of a dentist. Man, this gentleman right here is going to be a football player at the next level. And he has a chip on his shoulder because he wants to prove himself when he gets to that next level. Mr. Hunt, I'm going to call him Mr. Hunt today. He might be the most underrated prospect going into the 2024 NFL draft. I love him, Mr. Logan Landers. Back over to you.
Yes, sir. My final thoughts on Jalex Hunt, young man coming out of Houston Christian. I'll leave you with this, Vince, before I kick you back over to you for your final words. In 2023, at the end of the year, he was named the Southland Conference Defensive Player of the Year, as well as an All-American. In his 2 seasons with the Huskies, he finished with 133 total tackles, 20.5 tackles for loss, and 13.5 sacks. And as you mentioned, he became the first ever player at his school to receive the honor of going to the Senior Bowl this year, as well as Vincent being only one of 4 from the FCS to receive that honor. So when we talk about chip on the shoulder, this guy's the definition of it. I wish this guy the best of luck, and I'm excited to see where he goes in the next level because whoever gets him is going to get a diamond in the rough. I'm excited to see how this young man translates in the NFL. Your final words, Mr. Turner.
It reminds me, Logan, when I was like, I want to say I was 14 years old, maybe 13 years old, and a similar player came into the NFL. And the first thing I heard NFL scouts, and I'm attending Sherwood Junior High back in my hometown of Memphis, Tennessee. And they said, well, he played at a small school. The competition level wasn't up to like the big schools, the Notre Dames, the Ohio States, the Pittsburghs, the Georgias, the Tennessees. But the young man was out of Columbia, Mississippi. I always tell people something in the water in Mississippi. And a lot of people were really saying this guy wouldn't really make it at the next level. Well, you know what, Logan? He went on and became the all-time NFL leading rusher until his record was broken by Emmitt Smith. He went on and became a Hall of Famer. And he went on and represented Jackson State University at another level. And when he passed in 1999, it was one of the saddest days of my life because not only was he an outstanding football player, he was an outstanding individual who tried to own an NFL team. A lot of people don't remember that either. He tried to be a part of the ownership that tried to buy the St. Louis Rams. But he ended up having a pretty good career. And I see Mr. Hunt in the kind of like the same premise and the same conversation as the one great sweetness, Mr. Walter Payton, and what the NFL scouts were saying then about him. I wouldn't bet against this young man who came out of high school as an unrated prospect who went to Cornell on a 4.0. I think you need to recant that and look at this young man has a chip on his shoulder like Walter Payton did. Have a great day, Mr. Logan Landers. Take us home here on 100 Yards of Football.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Turner. And as he mentioned, guys, if you enjoyed the episode, give us a like, follow, share, and subscribe so you don't miss a single upload. Like I said, for Mr. Football Vincent Turner, I've been your host, Logan Landers. Guys, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk to you again on